Hey everyone, Melanie Muenchinger here. Today I'm going to be sharing some thoughts and tips on alcohol markers, and I'm going to be using a set of 120 as well as 236 sets from Arteza. Really excited about these markers, and I'm going to be using them with my illustrations from Gina K Designs. These are two different cards that I made, or this is the beginning of a card that I made using my Puppies Galore set and then the boards from my new Perfect Palette set. It is currently sold out, so I'm waiting until it comes back in stock to do a dedicated video to it. This one I used just one board as a planner, and I loved how it turned out, but both of these I colored with the Arteza markers, and I'm really excited about the colors and about the blend that you get. I was going to demonstrate this today. I found out though that these flowers for my spring basket set are almost out of stock, so I really want to show something that you can go and purchase if you haven't yet, if you're looking around in the store, and then I'll get to more videos with it later. But I want to talk about these markers. You've seen me use Copic markers and the Spectrum Noir markers in the past in my videos, and I really enjoy both of those products and their product lines. So not all markers are equal, and not all are going to work best for everyone. There's features that I like about all of them, and it really just depends on the type of art projects that you're going to be doing and what your budget is. So I'm going to tell you what I like about these Arteza markers because I've shown you some of the other ones in the past, and I'm really excited about these new ones that I got. So first of all, I want to show you, these are some coloring charts that I made PDFs of for you. I have them in the description below, so you'll be able to download these charts and then fill them in on your cardstock of choice. And I'll talk a little bit more about cardstock in just a minute. But I want to talk first about their largest set of 120 markers. So the alcohol markers, these are markers that are going to blend really well. They blend differently than watercolor markers or water-based markers do. They are more expensive, but these are very, very affordable. So this is the case that the 120 comes in. It's a beautiful case. It has this long padded carrying strap that you can detach. It also has the handle. I'll show you the different features of the bag, but I just think it is so pretty and so well made, and there's so many thoughtful features of it that make it work really well for transportation or just storing your markers in your crafting space. So when I got this, I mean, this was really the most exciting crafting delivery I've ever gotten just because of this organizer. I've never had anything like this before, and I want to carry my markers around in it. If you have all 120 markers in it and you're carrying it, I weighed it, it's going to weigh 8 pounds, but it's very comfortable because of this strap. So when you open it up, you've got, not only do you have the buckles, but then you've also got the Velcro. So that's going to keep it nice and sturdy, but it's still very easy to open. So I'm going to show you this top view first. So in addition to the 120 slots for these 120 markers that the case comes with, you're also going to have an additional 24 slots that you can put other markers in. And I checked, and they do fit the Spectrum Noir and then the Copic sketch and chow markers. So if you have got other markers that you want to put in here, you can definitely do that. So when this arrived, I mean, I thought, wow. First of all, this is currently, or usually about $120. So about $1 per marker, but that's not including the case. And I thought, wow, I would expect to spend probably $30 to $40 on this case. And I was not wrong, because I looked in the store later and I saw that they actually have this case unfilled so that you can put your other markers or coloring medium into it, and it's $37. Right now, this entire case with the markers is on sale for back to school. As of today's video, later it might not be, and I don't know how long the sale will last, but for back to school, it's only about $92. So if you factor in the cost of this case, comes out to just less than 50 cents a marker, or without the case, because it comes with it, about 75 cents a marker. I mean, that can't be beat. Copics are usually about 6 or 7. You can sometimes get them for $4 at Hobby Lobby or with a coupon. And then the Spectrum Noir are usually come out to about $2 a marker. I've had them for a few years now, so I haven't priced them recently. Those are estimates. But anyway, so here is what you get minus those 3 markers, but I'm going to show you those in the comparison because obviously the tips are going to be different on them. But you have a really, really nice range of a rainbow plus some grays in this. So let me open this up and show you how this works. So you open the side, so it's expandable. So if you stuff in a bunch more stuff, you can actually make it a little bit wider to fit. So let me turn it this way. so I can show you how it opens. Snap back together when I turned it. All right, so all of these fan out in a way that it's really easy to access them, to take them in and out, to see what you have. And then look at this. I love this feature. You can actually pull out this entire piece. So these are going to be like your main colors, that rainbow. And so you can just set this on your work surface and it'll lay flat, or you can keep it like that. You could also have this case open and just have it on your worktop because you want to store your alcohol markers horizontally, and that way all that ink is going to be at either end. So this pops just right back in. So I'll put that in there. And then, as I said, these are going to come right out. One thing that I want to point out about these markers is they have a triangular barrel. They're very lightweight and they're very comfortable to hold. I also like that it shows that it's got the chisel tip with the little icon, and then it's got the little bullet or fine tip with this little triangular symbol that looks like the bullet tip. And then you can also see that color band, so that helps you know right away when you're grabbing it that that is the fine point. And I'm going to compare these points in a minute, but I just want to show you some more things with the case. So this was really well thought out, that this triangular base fits into these little slots with this band really easily. So let me close this up really quickly, and then I'm going to go back to features of the case, and then we'll look at those color charts and then a demonstration of how they mark and color on cardstock. So when you fold this up, two things I want to show you about the back. I'm not going to bother with the little buckles, but as you can see, it stays together because of that Velcro. So let me show you the back. So on the back, in addition to the color charts I made, you have these adorable little hanging art swatches on here, and it shows you the numbers of all the markers and then all of the names. So you can see those little colors at a glance, and that is just so thoughtfully stuck on that zipper. And then the zipper means that you've got a pouch on here for storing your different pieces of paper with your stamped images or things that you want to color. So here is something that we're going to work on in just a minute. So that's really nice. You can have other utensils in there as well. It's not a huge pocket, but it's big enough for the things that you want to be coloring and your extra supplies. So I'm going to take out one of the markers here and tried to pick a color that was similar. So I'm going to use this 885, and I'm going to show you what they look like in comparison to these different markers, the Copic and the Spectrum Noir. So let me put this aside for just a second. Okay, so I want to do this on my cardstock, and I have just some scratch paper for printing, printer paper underneath, and this is going to bleed through and it's going to wick out a lot more into the paper than it will onto my cardstock. So that's why I want to use cardstock to show how these mark. So as I said, it's got a bullet tip and then it's got a chisel tip. So the bullet tip is a lot smaller, or I guess it's about the same size on this one. And then this has a brush tip on the Copic and then the chisel on the other. But it makes a much finer line than I'm used to from using the Spectrum Noir markers. So here is what you get. That is the finest line that I can make with this bullet tip, okay? But now let me show you what you can do with the Arteza marker. So this is just going to do very, very fine lines. But when you go slower or when you press harder, you can make a thicker line. And then by putting it on the side, you can make a fatter line. So I love how you can make just a really, really fine detailed line for hair, for texture, for stippling, for anything in your coloring, and for those really, really tight areas. I have not been able to do that with an alcohol marker before. Now let me show you then on the chisel tip. Same thing with the chisel tip. It's got a really skinny chisel tip, skinnier than the Spectrum Noir or the, if you can see that, than the Spectrum Noir marker or the Copic marker. So on this one, the edge of this is very, very fine. You can make a really, really skinny line with that as well. But see that bright, bright color that you get with the marker. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to do this one. So again, this is the edge of the Spectrum Noir. So I can't do that really fine line with it. So it just depends, but with either of them, you can get that nice, bold chisel stroke for filling an area in really quickly. And then let me show you with that Copic marker. So this is one of the chows. So this is that fine edge there. So I just want you to have a comparison because you probably have some of these in your collection. And the brush tip is a little bit different. It can go fine or it can go fat. So this is the most expensive of the alcohol markers. This is the least expensive. All right, so let me show you just some coloring here that I've done. So here I have got the sunflower from my Stately Flowers 5, and then also I've got this mistletoe here. So this set is really good for the upcoming fall and winter months for making your autumn and Christmas cards. And then this flower, this is the Brown-Eyed Susan from my Stately Flowers 9 line. So I've got almost all 50 sets out right now. You can go and check those out at Gina K Designs. All botanicals that are really beautiful, whether you just stamp them in one color or emboss them. But I really love coloring these with alcohol markers. And again, here are these two that I did. And I stamped these just so that you know in the Gina K Designs new Obsidian amalgam ink. It's great for coloring. And I don't know if I pointed out before, but the cardstock here, this particular sample, you can see that it's coming through the paper. This is our layering weight. It's a smooth cardstock, which is great for stamping and coloring with alcohol markers. But this is for layering onto another piece of cardstock like I did here. It's going to come through if you're using the layering weight. If you want to do a single layer card like I love to do on our white, this is the Gina K Pure Luxury Heavy Base Weight White. That does not come through. So these are all done with the Arteza markers. So you get that same kind of blend that you do with the Copic or the Spectrum Noir. I want to show you my color charts really quick and then show you how the 30 sets of 36 come. So this is the Everblend Art Marker 120 chart that I made for that big carrying case. So I've got rows of 10 by 12 for all 120. You can see that you have a really, really nice assortment of grays that come in this. And you've also got the 0, which is a blender. And that's going to help you blend those shades or erase marks. It's basically just like alcohol in a marker so that you can lighten up these darker colors or erase if you go outside the lines. A lot of fun tricks with that. I'll show those later. Now, this is the numbering system on all of these markers. This one says A85 and it's magenta. So these actually have names. The Spectrum Noir markers do not have names. They just have colors. So this would be BP for bright pink and then 6. So these are numbered a little differently. They go 1 through 6. That usually means it goes lightest to darkest. Not always, but usually. So that's something predictable. The numbering is a little bit different for Arteza. You see we've got really long numbers here in the 400s. Some are in the 5,000s. So you do see pretty much the same number within a color group, but not always. So that's why it's important to make the chart. They all also start with an A. The A, I assume, means Arteza, so I didn't put that on any of the charts. I'm also going to share a chart that you can fill out that doesn't have the numbers on it and it just has the blanks. That way, if you want to arrange them in a different order on here, if you want to start with the darkest red or you wanted to have the grays at the top, knock yourself out. Or if you feel like some of these are a little bit out of order and you really want all those dark colors close together, then you can do that and it's still going to be labeled for you. But I recommend that you print this out on your own cardstock so you can see how it's going to blend and exactly what it's going to look like before you start coloring on that paper that you choose. The way that I did these on the numbering is just the order that they came in my case. I figured there was a reason for them to do it that way, but whatever system works best for you. Now let me show you this other, and like I said, all those colors are on the back of that little chart that is clipped onto the zipper. Now this one I did, and I put flesh tones, but then I noticed that later, I don't know if they changed it later, it says skin on the website and then portrait tones on my box, so whichever. And then I also I added the numbers in here later, but I've got the numbers actually printed on there for you. So this was just me just trying to figure out where I wanted them all. So the 36 gray tones, I noticed after I got them, there were a lot of repeats within the gray and in the 120 pack. And there's also a smaller pack if you want less than 120, and then this might be a good add-on for you. But if you get the 120, you really don't need this gray tone. You're only going to be getting 12 new markers. So this 120 pack really has a great range of very light to blue to gray to brown, gray greens in this one, but you will get some new colors. And what I did here is I marked with a little dot all the ones that are in this 120 pack. The flesh tone, so if you have this, again, you probably don't need this unless you want to have a lot of repeats. It's good to have those because then you don't have to worry about running out of them. You've got an instant refill for you. Again, these are so inexpensive. These are not marked down though, the two smaller sets when I looked. Okay, so the flesh tones or these portrait tones, these actually only have 3 that occur in the 120 set. So you're going to be getting 33 new markers. And I really recommend that you get this because not only are you getting flesh tones, but you're getting hair tones, you're getting neutrals, you're getting nature tones. And if you see, it's so much more than flesh. You're getting a really, really gorgeous range of browns to add to this collection, as well as pinks, oranges, yellows, and those creamy neutrals. So really, really am excited about this flesh tone pack. Let me show you how the 36 packs are packaged. So they come in a box like this. They've got that same color chart on the back, so you can see all of the numbers along with the name. And then they come in 3 packs of 12. So they just slide right out. And what I really like about this tray is that, as you can see, the markers do not fall out of this tray. So it's a really easy way to keep them organized. And remember, if you have that 120 case, you've got room for 24 markers. So I might even pull out the ones that I find are my most favorite to use and put them in that big carrying case. And then they're labeled exactly the same. They have that triangular barrel. I also want to point out that out of 192 markers total, the grays, the flesh, and the 120 set, I did not have a single one that was dried out or had a messed up tip. So that is really awesome. I really appreciate that quality. And I know they really stand by it if you had to do a return on a marker. So if that ever happens, let them know. But I thought that was great quality. The caps stay on really well. So that's what I want to share about the charts. Make sure that you download those from my post if you're interested. So let me go back to doing some coloring here on this. And I think I want to color, I want to color both of them today. I think I'm going to have to do 2 different videos. So let me start with doing these Brown-Eyed Susans. We have these all over Texas. All right, so I'm going to pull out a couple of the browns and the greens and the yellows. Pretty much the same colors that I did for this sunflower. So I think I want to do, let's see, I think I'm going to do either the 5948 or 5959. And then I want to pick a darker one, but you'll see it really takes very little shading because I have all this shadowing and contour lines in my illustration. So it makes it really easy to color. All right, so I'm going to pull out, let's see, so I think I'm going to do this 5947. And then I think I want to do this, let's see, I think I'm going to do the 543. Which one do I want to do? Looking at these again. I think I'm going to do I'll do the 543, and that is called Moss Green, and then the 5947, and that's called Spring Green. And then I'm going to choose, I think, this 945 or 949. Let's do the 949. And then I'm going to do that 9433, this kind of mustardy color, and this 9424. Let's see, And then I'm also going to grab a brown, I think. Let's see. Let's try the 2492 and the 2491. Okay. 2491, 2492. Okay, so set this aside. And I had some people request that I go a little bit closer on my coloring. So I'm going to go ahead and just back this, or kind of zoom in here a little bit so that you can see my coloring a little bit more closely. Okay, so let's begin by coloring in these petals. So if you want to do really fine lines, you can do the little bullet tip, but I'm going to start with the chisel so I can fill them in quickly. And so I'm just going in just really quickly with the yellow. I'm not bothering to color the entire image. I'm leaving just a little bit of white at those edges. And that's just going to create just a nice little highlight. Don't have to do it with a color. You can just leave it open on those petals. And then I'm going to go in with that darker one. And that is the, let's see, which one am I going to do? I'm going to do the 9433. Okay. So I'm going to go in and I want to color the underneath petals that are not going to be getting any of that sunlight. And then I'm going to do just a little bit down here at the bottoms where it's going to be folding under. And you want to think about the shape of each of these petals, either like they're cupping or they're curling. And so you're going to have the lightest part here and the darkest parts underneath and at the top. So I'm going to go under there. And they always tend to be a little bit darker there towards the center. And I love how I can, without having to go back and forth between tips, that I can do really fine coloring, but then I can also do just a really fine line with the edge of that chisel tip. Okay, now I'm going to go in and I'm going to do some of this dark one. And if you're not happy with how your coloring turns out, if you've used, whether you're using water markers or alcohol markers, you really need to maybe have a little bit more contrast to your coloring. And that's what's going to really create the interest in your images and in your finished piece and just really create that glow, having that contrast between the light and the dark. Now you can also do tip-to-tip coloring. I'm going to just do that right there. Some under here, and then on the bottom of these leaves. And I'm going to pull it out. Let me show you with this really fine tip. I really love having little veins on petals to just show that texture. So if you're wise about the color selections and the colors that you want to use, you don't have to do a lot of blending. But if you want to take this lightest color, if you want to do an in-between shade, you can take this light one and just lift some of the color off of the darker one. Have this one in your dominant hand and just color right over. And it's going to blend those colors together. So if you have 120 of these markers and then you pick one of these add-on sets, you're going to have a huge range of color to use on your projects. Okay. All right. Now let's do some of the green. So I'm going to go in first with the lighter green. A nice pop to it, the spring green. And then I'm going to do the moss. And so I'm just going to put this in over where the black parts are in my image. So that's going to be underneath those flowers. And then I'm imagining the light coming this way. So I'm keeping it over to this side. And so it might not look that much different as the black stamp is pretty dark comparison to this marker, but you can tell that you're laying down a dark green over it. So it definitely is going to pop more if you add that second shade of green. Okay, now I'm going to go in with those browns that I mentioned. So this is the 2491, and I'm just going to put this here at the bottom. And you want to color in little circles rather than stripes because you don't want to see those lines. They also have some really great charts online that you can see. They're not for download currently, but you can see the charts so you can make a decision to know what kind of range of colors they have there for you. But they actually, I think I want something a little bit lighter than this. So I'm going to grab a different brown. Hang on. I'm going to do, I think maybe I'm going to use actually that 9424, this more mustardy one for my brown on the top. Yeah. And I'll show you how those will blend together. There we go. So when you layer these colors over each other, and I tried to make just a really solid swatch, but the chart online is what I was going to say. They actually show what it looks like if you do one swatch. For instance, I'll show you right now. So there's that. If you're going in lines, you're going to see those lines in between because it is going over that second or that first one. But when you color in circles, you're going to get rid of those lines and you're just going to get a nice smooth blend. So on the chart that they have online, they have a top one and then they have a bottom one, and they've gone over it twice so that you can see it's really like having two markers. You don't need to have a lighter and a darker orange. When you lay the colors on, you're going to automatically get a darker color. So it's buildable. Excuse me. So I'm going to go down and I want it to be the very darkest down here at the bottom. So you see how that's just really making it glow there and just kind of going back and forth rather than trying to make it just curved and smooth. It's giving it that texture. And then I've got these little bits of pollen here. Sometimes these are brown, but sometimes they're yellow. I want to go back on, and I think I'm just going to do just a little bit right here. Let me show you with one of those grays. I want to do just a shadow on there. I wasn't going to do that before, but I want to do that. So as you can see, I'm looking at my chart first before I decide which color I'm going to grab. So I think I want to have, let's see, I think I'm going to do this 750-30. Okay. So this is going to make it look like this is laying on the piece of paper. So you can do this with your chisel tip or with that bullet tip. So I'm just going to go underneath each one, and it's going to make it look like it is just laying there on this piece of paper. So I'm just going underneath each one. I love how soft this gray is. It's not leaving a hard line. And this is a really beautiful color for a shadow. So I highly recommend that you pick this up for that case, for the quality of the markers, for the range of colors. And I mean, this would be great even if you have a large set already at this price to have as your traveling set of markers. I know you'll know what I mean, that it's good to have more than one, or to have similar tools but that have features that work really well for different situations. So there's that Brown Eyed Susan from that Stately Flowers 9. So I hope you enjoyed seeing these. Like I said, I colored this puppy from Puppies Galore with these same markers. I used the little smiling face, and then I used one of the ears that was cocked, and then one of the ears that was down. And the colors that I used for this one, I actually used the 487 and the 428 for the tongue and the ears. And then I did the, let's see, which browns did I use? This 9421 and 4103, and then a little bit of 2492 on the face. So I'll go back and do some more puppies. This is currently in stock also. But I've got links down below for you to click to go right to these products in the store for both Gina K and Arteza. I have a coupon code that you can use if you do it before the 15th. I know that doesn't give you a lot of time, but for 10% off, so you can take that. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please ask me questions if you have below in the comments about these markers. I would love to tell you more about them or about our products from Gina K Designs. Thank you so much for watching today. God bless.